Hi all. A friend of mine suggested that I should maybe talk about CB's, Citizen Band Radio. And like, well, it looks like some people are trying to bring it back, so I thought I'd just go ahead and try to talk a little bit about it. When I first started coming out and available on the public market, I was absolutely fascinated with them. I spent a lot of time just listening, to some people. The channels were not crowded at all. There was just a few people, and they were talking back and forth with each other like friends, like they knew each other and that. So I was too shy. I had, mic fright pretty good, so I didn't talk a lot, but I learned a lot. Fast forward a couple of years later, I really got into it pretty heavy, and there was a couple of three guys there in my neighborhood. We all got to talking about it, and we kind of just formed our own private little club. We got on some, little private channels there. Well, they weren't private, but not many people used them, Channel 3 or something like that. And we kind of, we got to talking with each other, telling each other our stories and all that, and it got to be where it was a nightly thing. Everybody would, get on the air and start talking, and then pretty soon, we started attracting some other people, sort of in the neighborhood. We lived in a little small suburb town of Phoenix, so we got started, like I said, it started attracting some other people that we didn't know, and next thing we knew, it was 8 or 9 people, 10 people, and we'd all get on, and talk to each other, and then we decided that we could meet somewhere at a restaurant for coffee. I guess back then they called it coffee breaks. We all got to be pretty good friends, and but we tried to keep it nice and tight, nice little tight circle, and we'd get together, like I said, and we'd have some good times. After a while, it got kind of boring. We'd get together. I mean, 5 minutes, you told your whole life story, and then what, So I remember one of my best friends at that time. His name was Mr. Radio. I'll never forget that guy. I'm talking about 7, 8 months go by. He and I got together one afternoon, and we got to talking about let's do something so that we could all have some fun. And he was telling me that when he was younger, they used to have a little game that they called Skunk Hunt. So we talked about that, about doing some of that stuff, and we kind of told everybody what we were thinking about, and everybody thought it was a pretty good idea. Might be some fun. So what we would do is we'd all meet at like a city park. We'd pick out a designated spot to all meet up, and then we'd choose what we called the skunk, and he would take off, and there was I think there was like a 3-mile radius that he could go and hide. And then the rest of us had to give him, was probably like 15-20 minutes or something like that for him to find some place to hide. And then when he did, he would broadcast. He had to broadcast for 1 minute, no, 30 seconds every 1 minute, every 1 or 2 minutes, so that we could kind of get a bearing as to where he might be. And then the rest of us would take off and try to go find him. There were some rules. You couldn't hide in somebody's garage, or you couldn't hide, and you couldn't go to your house. You couldn't hide between buildings, where the radio signals wouldn't get out. You had to be in plain sight, hidden but in plain sight. We'll put it that way. Maybe some side street somewhere, and it got to be where it was just a whole lot of fun. Sure enough, somebody would find him, and we had an hour and a half to find them. If we didn't find him in an hour and a half, then the game was over, and we all met back up at the designated spot. And then, you know, we'd plan it next week. Well, some of the guys were getting pretty good at finding these people, so finding the skunk, you know, and all kinds of technology was coming out on how to, you know, how to spot a signal and how to find it and all that. So, and then in the meantime, it just kept getting bigger and bigger to where it was, you know, sometimes there'd be 20, 25 people all gathered in the park, you know. Well, of course, you know, that would attract attention of the police. They didn't do anything. They just come out to see what was going on, you know. And we'd go ahead and pick out a skunk, and he'd take off. And, you know, I think sometimes some of the cops might go try to find the skunk themselves. They couldn't do it, and they couldn't participate in the game, of course. But I think some of them were having just as much fun as we were. So, and then you know, it got to where it was pretty big, and then there was some arguments, you know, about, you know, pre-designated spots where they could go and hide, and then they would share that information with their friends and that. So, you know, it got to be kind of ugly for a little while. So we decided that in order for them to participate, we had to form a little CB club, and it was $1 a month, you know, for dues. And then that kind of cut back some of the people, but it was still just as much fun. And then, you know, it started to get too big again. And so we decided, you know, we weren't greedy by any means, but we were just trying to control how many people there were, because, you know, there was, I mean, it got to be where there was, you know, 30 or 40 cars sitting all in one spot, and then everybody would take off. It was kind of chaotic, so we decided, well, we'll charge $2 to enter the game. So that was $3. And it was $2 for every time they joined the game. So it was $1 a month to join the club, and then $2 per skunk hunt. That cut back some of the people as well. So, but we were still having just as much fun. And the cops would show up, you know, and they'd sit and watch, and you know, some of them would kind of come in and walk around, stand and listen to us talking and grinning, you know. No, I think they were having just as much fun as we were. So, but, you know, it's like everything else. Pretty soon, we started getting infiltrated with undesirables, deplorables. Back then, we had deplorables too. And you know, there was some things that somebody won, you know, 2 or 3 times or so. Well, then they started complaining like, oh, he knew where he was, and there's cheating, you know, and excuse me. We were using the money to buy, you know, after the skunk hunt was over, we'd all go back to the park or wherever we were, and, you know, with that $3, well, you know, we'd buy pizza and soda pop and stuff, no alcohol at all. Some of the people were minors, so there was no alcohol. It was just pizza and soda pop and that sort of stuff. And we'd sit around for an hour and a half and talk and, you know, plan different events and that sort of stuff. So anyway, yeah, you know, long story short, it was just so much fun. But then, you know, like I said, with everything else, especially nowadays, I guess they were early trolls. So it kind of went by the wayside. We didn't do that too much anymore. You know, every once in a while we'd do it, but, you know, like I said, it attracted so many people that, I mean, it was more work than fun after that. So anyway, I'm going to try to do 2 or 3 parts of this series of it. There's a whole lot that I'd like to talk about with the CB radio and that. And so I guess that's it. I'll talk to you on the next one.